It's 6:30, and as chair of the Guilford Select Board, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by Governor Scott as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and pursuant to Addendum 6 to Executive Order 01-20 and Act 92, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. In accordance with Act 92, there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting. However, in accordance with the temporary amendments to the open meeting law, I confirm that we are, 1, providing public access to the meeting by video with additional access offered through telephone. We are using Google Meet for this remote meeting. All members of the Guilford Select Board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if desired, participate in this meeting by going to https://meet.google.com/ERC-NZTW-GMX, or by telephoning 617-4444 and putting in the following PIN number 293-768-638-4464 hashtag. 2, providing public notice of instructions for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing this meeting, including how to access the meeting using the telephone and the video platform in our posted meeting agenda. Instructions have also been provided on the town website at guilfordvermont.net. 3, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please telephone 802-254-4117. And 4, continuing the meeting if necessary. In the event the public is unable to access this meeting, it will be continued to a time and place certain. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting that are not unanimous will be done by roll call vote in accordance with the law. Let's start this meeting by taking a roll call of attendance of all members of the Guilford Select Board. Miranda Porch.
Aye.
Rusty Marine.
Here.
Zon S. Easties.
Hi, here.
And Michael Becker.
We lost Michael, looks like.
We lost Michael. I wonder what we can do it, but you think we should just go on and let him catch up with us?
Yeah, you continue on. I'll try and message him.
Okay. So I'd like to recognize the public, and that would be Leslie. You consider you the public? Welcome to our new town auditor. Hello, and
Hello,
welcome
Leslie.
to your select board. The rules of procedure govern the way that the public interacts with the select board, and the select board interacts with the public. And at this time, they could be found, the rules of procedure, I believe, on our website. Are there any additions to our agenda this evening, lady and gentlemen?
I have none.
All right. And are there any changes to the agenda order?
I have none.
Okay. The minutes, I'm presuming that everyone, our select board has read the minutes, and I look for a motion to accept or amend them and approve them.
I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Although, is there any question? All those in, I will take the roll call. Veranda Porch.
Aye.
Rusty Marine.
Aye.
Zon Easties.
Aye.
Michael Becker.
Oh, he's muted.
I see you, Michael. You're muted.
I think I'll have to abstain because I could not hear what you were speaking about.
Oh, we were at the approval of the minutes. Do you?
I will approve. Yeah, I will vote aye for that.
Okay, thank you. The motion carries. Thank you very much. On to new business. Peter, would you speak to the PACIF Know Before Internet Security training offer? I don't think there's much to say about it.
There's not a whole lot. So I received an email, which I shared with the Selectboard from PACIF, the town's insurance company, who informed us of an offer in recognition of the significant risk that cybercrime continues to pose to municipalities. They're announcing they have negotiated a discounted rate for PACIF members to sign new service contracts with Know Before. And one thing I wanted to note is that pricing is based on 3 different tiers, is on a per user basis. However, they had a little asterisk at the end, which noted that organizations with 25 users or less, which counts us, are only able to subscribe to their 3-year Diamond program.
When I read this information, I thought that it really wasn't necessary for us to subscribe to these trainings.
Yeah, I have a tendency to agree with what Richard just said, but I wanted to share it with you since it came directly from VLCT, from someone we pay a lot of money to for PACIF. The VLCT has offered a number of these not Know Before type online courses, but in-person classes on internet security and phishing and all those things at their various conferences. Obviously, that's not happening this year. But I just wanted to present it to you folks. You don't have to take any action if you want.
Do any of the select board members feel strongly one way or the other about subscribing to this training or not subscribing to the training?
Richard, or Peter, I was just curious about whether any of the towns in Vermont have had problems with phishing and breaches of security and these other things.
Yes, most definitely.
Can you say a little more about it?
We haven't been given a whole lot of information. I do know that a couple of towns up in northern Vermont, that's about all that PACIF told us last year, had been subjected to some phishing attacks and kind of fell to them and lost several $1,000s. One town also, they were saying, had their server, I guess in layman's terms, locked down is the easiest way to describe it, and they were requesting a ransom to restore it. Not as bad as other states because most of our towns are small, but yes, it is happening.
Mm-hmm. So I'll ask my question again. Does anyone feel that we should be subscribing to this offer, the Diamond offer? I don't.
I don't either.
Okay, let's move on then. Thank you. Rusty, did you want to say something?
I didn't. I just said I don't either.
Okay. Well, we seem to be in agreement. Okay, Vermont local resolution on federal relief funding. I believe that was in our folder, and you've all had a time to read it. Peter, do we need a motion to accept this resolution or to sign on to it? Okay.
You actually need a motion to adopt the resolution, and then if you so do, I'll provide digital signatures and return it to VLCT, who will then submit it to the state as well as our federal representatives if you agree with it.
Okay, I would like to read just the 5 points, not the introductory material, but the resolution itself.
I would encourage you, while it is a little bit lengthy, I would encourage you to please read the entire document so folks who watch this video at a later date know what it is that the select board is approving.
Okay, I shall do that then. Resolution. All cities, towns, and villages in Vermont are essential, and Vermont local officials support fair and direct federal emergency aid to reopen and rebuild local American economies. Whereas America's cities, towns, and villages face unprecedented threats due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic emergency. Whereas municipalities are essential to America's economic recovery, and without funding support for local governments, municipalities may go from being a critical part of the economic solution to becoming a major obstacle to long-term stabilization and recovery. Whereas American cities, towns, and villages will experience budgetary shortfalls of up to $134 billion in fiscal year 2020 alone, and the negative effects of the pandemic emergency on communities will continue long after this year. Whereas 3 million critical municipal worker jobs are at risk, threatening cuts to basic community services, including 911 response, sanitation, economy recovery, and maintenance. Whereas communities have taken extraordinary measures to protect health, safety, and the continuation of essential services throughout the emergency. Whereas Vermont's municipal leaders are united in helping their communities make a strong comeback after experiencing furloughs among municipal staff, loss of direct municipal revenue, and tremendous demand from residents in Main Street and other local businesses for assistance. And whereas America's rural communities and small towns, especially here in Vermont, are struggling just as much as big cities and risk being left far behind. Now, therefore, be it resolved that 1, Vermont local officials call on Congress to allocate fair and direct federal support to all of America's communities, regardless of population size. 2, this funding be flexible and address not only the additional expenses incurred by communities to respond to the pandemic emergency, but also the dramatic budgetary shortfalls resulting from pauses in commerce, tourism, and other economic engines. 3, resolve that local governments will ensure federal funds are immediately used to rebuild and reopen the economy. 4, resolved funding will keep workers employed and critical services operating. And 5, resolved Vermont local officials have been part of the emergency response and now call on Congress to build a united national partnership for a safe, healthy, prosperous life, submitted by the town of Guilford, by its duly elected officials, and adopted on Monday, 8th June, 2020. That's the resolution. I need a motion to accept or not.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Michael. Is there any discussion?
Sounds great.
Sounds very good to me. It sounds like it's necessary as well. Without further discussion, then, I would take a roll call vote. Miranda Porch?
Aye.
Rusty Marine?
Aye.
Zon Eastis?
Aye.
Michael Becker?
Aye.
Richard Wazansky? Aye. The resolution carries unanimously. Thank you, Select Board. I think that's a very noble thing that we have done and important as well. Now on to the Finance Advisory Committee recommendations to the Select Board, and I hope that you've all had a chance to read them. I will read them out loud. Peter, sorry, that's not the right one. Maybe I
have them in front of me if you need me to read it.
I have them. The following requests were made by the Finance Advisory Committee to the Select Board and are reflected in the minutes. They are pulled out by Peter separately here for easy reference. And since you pulled them out, Peter, why don't you read them?
Sure, no problem. The Finance Advisory Committee asks the Select Board to review staff overtime, I should clarify, in light of COVID-19, and consider prohibiting overtime until more is known about tax revenue shortfalls. The second point is the Finance Advisory Committee requests information from the Select Board on actions taken to date in light of potential tax revenue shortfalls on all departments in town or proposed actions. The FAC is aware that investigation of compliance with a personnel policy is not in their purview. It asks the Select Board to conduct their own investigation with regard to compliance with procedures and the potential for budget savings.
Now, I would say that we are in the process of doing that, of engaging in that second recommendation, and I wonder if any of the Select Board would take action on the first recommendation and consider prohibiting overtime in the light of COVID-19 until more is known about tax revenue shortfalls.
I have a question. I mean, I always assumed overtime was more a winter thing, but how much overtime happens in the summer? I mean, some, or is it significant?
Some. It's much less significant than the rest of the year. It does happen on occasion, and Danny does budget for some. I occasionally have some, but it's not as common as during the late fall and winter.
Nonetheless, I would entertain a motion to prohibit overtime until we know more about the impact of the tax revenue on the town.
I would second that.
Okay.
So, Richard, are you moving and Michael is seconding?
Yes. Yes, son.
And so that part of the recommendation here, then, if we are to accept it, from my point of view, requires a little pressure on our part to actually get this taken care of then, so that we're not just holding overtime out there as a way to save a little bit of money here and there, but actually be responsive. So I would hope I would hope that we can develop a schedule, perhaps this evening, of these finance committee, of these meetings, these budget meetings we're going to have, so that we can start speaking to people directly when questions come forward.
Well, that's on the agenda, actually, those meetings.
Good.
So, yeah.
Thank you. I just want to say that.
Okay.
Richard, may I just read to you what I put in for your motion, just to make sure it quantifies what you wanted?
Yes, thank you.
So I said, Richard moved to prohibit all staff overtime until more is known about budget shortfalls due to COVID-19. Is that acceptable?
That sounds, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And it's been motioned and seconded.
That's correct. Michael seconded.
Is there any further discussion?
Well, my only question, I mean, I'm in favor of this, but I wonder whether we want to fold that recommendation into the whole series of recommendations that we're going to be making about budget cuts.
Well, I think this one can be immediately done and start saving now instead of waiting till later.
I agree with you, Rusty. Any further, Veranda, does that satisfy you?
That satisfies me.
Okay, thank you. In that case, I shall call the roll. Veranda Porch?
Aye.
Rusty Marine?
Aye.
Michael Becker?
Aye.
Zon Easties?
Aye.
Richard Wazansky? Aye. The motion carries unanimously. So what we will do in this regard is put out a memo from the Select Board, making sure that this motion is understood. So that's an action that we should take, Peter.
Yes, I am putting that in right now.
Thank you.
I will share that memo with you, Richard, prior to sending it out.
Yes, please do. Okay. Now on to discussion updates. Does Peter have a COVID-19 update for us?
Yes. Overall, the report is going to be pretty brief this week. Aside from a situation in northern Vermont, the overall COVID caseload is remaining very low in the state. We're still the lowest in the nation. Additional good news is that Vermont, for the second week in a row, does not have any hospitalized patients.
Wow, good.
And there have been beginning of discussions and high hopes that school will be able to reopen in the fall. And the state is currently working with school districts and supervisory union on steps to ensure student safety.
That's very good news.
It is indeed. One of my standing weekly conference calls, that's on a statewide level. Congressman Peter Welch was invited to speak to all of us, and he presented an update on what's going on in Washington, D.C. He has been actively involved in a federal aid package specifically for municipalities, and it's currently being reviewed by the Senate and has already successfully passed the House. He noted, he being Congressman Welch, was hopeful that they will have enough votes to pass this bill very soon. On a more state level, the state has been doing food distribution for the past several weeks. And for those folks who have participated in this, they have noted there are very long lines and multiple hour wait times. It's been very frustrating for many people throughout the state. So this week, the Vermont Emergency Management is going through a process of redesigning how they distribute that aid to reduce people's wait time to hopefully no more than 30 minutes is what their goal is.
That would be good.
It would, yes. Many people have been complaining because of it's just very frustrating to not have work and need food, and then to come and wait for 6 or 8 hours to get enough food for one day.
Yeah.
Last but not least, on a more local level, unfortunately, in-person meetings are still prohibited. The reopening of municipal offices is now up to the decision of each town. However, any employee who is able to work remotely is still required to do so. And that's really all for my update for this week.
Peter,
go on, Veranda, please.
Oh, I just had a question about the food distribution.
Yes.
Do they need more volunteers to help facilitate food distribution, or is it just a logistical issue?
It's primarily been a logistical issue, and it's being undertaken by Vermont Emergency Management with assistance from the Vermont National Guard.
Thank you.
Any
I have one more
questions?
question. I'm just curious, at the town office, what's the situation for our staff? Is it reduced hours? Are people working full time? I'm really not clear on what's going on there entirely.
So Lisa and I have been continuing our regular work schedules remotely. There are a few tasks that I have to do from the office, and so I will come in the office and aside from this moment, because I'm the only one here, wear a mask and wash my hands regularly, that sort of thing. Penny has continued to work her normal job from the office. In the past week and a half or so, Ellie has been Penny has allowed Ellie to increase her hours some, so she's been coming in several hours on the afternoons, and Marta is still on reduced hours.
Okay, thanks for the update. I was
So the picture is that Penny's in the office because she chooses to be, and Peter and Lisa remotely because the executive order states basically that if you can, you should.
Yes.
Yep. So so our town is functioning pretty smoothly, particularly because Peter's keeping all of his hours. There's no reduction in hours, and of course Penny is there in the office fulfilling all her hours.
Yeah, and I think that Lisa is fulfilling a majority of her hours.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, any further discussion? Well, the next agenda item is the special select board budget meetings, and I would like to propose that we do a doodle poll to get the first one going, and then we could take it from there. I want to know what your thoughts are about that. Does anybody disagree with doing that? So we can schedule one. It will have to be remotely.
Sounds good.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Will we be having members of the Financial Advisory Committee meeting with us, or a representative of them, or is this our chance to do our work and then we'll collaborate with them later as needed?
Rusty,
this is our chance to do our work.
Yes, I was going to say, Rusty could correct me if I misunderstood, but their intention is not to join select board budget meetings until the fall.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Just on the doodle poll, I know we're not going to sort out the time right now, but can we include this time as a possibility?
So you mean a Monday at 6:30?
Yeah, any day, but sort of post work hours.
Sure.
Okay.
That should so let's put that as part of one of the options anyway, or several of the options.
Okay.
Peter, will you take care of that?
Absolutely, I will organize that.
Very good. So on to the warrants.
Richard, I just have one question. Do
Yes,
these have to be open meetings when we're doing these, or can this be a closed meeting?
No, they are required to be an open meeting. The select board cannot meet privately. unless it's an executive session and that's very specifically dictated.
Okay.
And Peter will warn them with the appropriate warning advance time.
Definitely.
Okay, so is it time for the warrants?
It is. It's warrant time.
Okay, well, I move that we pay the following warrants. Payroll week 5/31/20 for the sum of $5,785.71. Payroll week 6/7/20 for the sum of $5,797.66. Expense warrant number 2023 for the sum of $37,725.82. Expense warrant number FW23 for the sum of $26.50 for the total of $49,335.69. The major expenses, as usual, have been gravel, insurance, and chloride now, it being summery and dry.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Rusty. Is there any further discussion? I'll take the roll then. Veranda Porch?
Aye.
Rusty Marine?
Aye.
Zon Easties?
Aye.
Michael Becker?
Aye.
Richard Wazansky? Aye. The motion carries unanimously. Excellent. I don't know, well, I had a conversation with Danny today, and I could give a 2-sentence highway report. The gravel and chloride reminded me of it.
Sure.
That's what they're doing. That's what the highway crew is doing. They're grading and chloriding. And they're very busy with their spring-summer work. Okay, Peter, do you have any communications?
I have two, but I was going to let Veranda share hers first.
Oh,
Okay.
there was also one from Zon.
We have one from Zon as well.
Oh, okay. Well, I have no preference about going first or second. So I guess I will go first. I wanted to share a poem by a Guilford resident, Rohan Josiah Providence, born and raised in Guilford on Weatherhead Hollow Road. Warning, his poem contains a word that offends us. The poem reflects his life experience and opinions, not the select board. I asked him to share it with you, hoping that we can listen and learn from one another. And here is his poem. I'll read it the best I can. I'm tired. I'm tired of being called a nigger. I'm tired of being told to go back to Africa while walking down the street. I'm tired of being spit on. I'm tired thinking that people are my friends, and I turn around and they are in racist hate groups, nigger hanging redneck association. I'm tired of walking down the street, have people look at me and cross the street in fear or hate. I'm tired of walking with a grin plastered on my face and whistling nonsense tunes to make strangers around me feel less threatened by my presence. I'm tired of being told Black people are lazy, but I'm an exemption. I'm tired of feeling genuine fear when I get pulled over, not knowing if this is it. I'm tired of pretending I'm in a good mood all the time, because if I'm not, I become a super predator. Of all things I'm tired of, I still grew up relatively safe. I can only imagine if my life was a bit different. Instead of being tired, I would be full of rage. If my brother was killed by a cop because of a fake bill, I would rage. I wouldn't be able to just sit there and have that fake smile on my face. Not anymore. Everything around me would remind me they were gone. I wouldn't think of the repercussions of my actions because the people who did this didn't have to care about theirs. Some people are upset with the riots and the looting. I believe that if there are people who are looting, who are actually raging over the deaths of Black men, it's because of rage of injustice. I'm trying to find the right way of explaining this, and I can't. The best analogy I could come up with is a horror movie. We all say, why would that person do something so obviously dumb? The answer is fear. Their fear is guiding them in such a powerful way that nothing else matters. We are still in complete control of ourselves while watching, being safe at home. But when homes are not safe and the people who are supposed to protect you are killing you, rage is all there is. Lord, I'm just so tired. And that's Rohan Josiah Providence of Weatherhead Hollow Road.
Thank you, Veranda. Zon, did you have a communication that you'd wanted to share with us?
Thank you, Veranda. I'll just start by saying that I called Richard because I was so upset by the killing of George Floyd. And I wanted to investigate whether or not the town of Guilford, whether we could actually say anything, or what could happen kind of officially or something to make sure that we understand that this community needs to be a welcoming community. Even if there are people here who don't feel that way, it needs to be expressed that this is a welcoming community because that's so needed. So Richard and I talked, and there's probably nothing that we can do as a select board along the lines I was thinking. So I just asked that you listen to me read this simple statement. It's not unlike what Roland said. So I'm deeply saddened and angry at the murder of George Floyd at the hands of police. Such acts of brutality, as well as attempts to suppress protests across our country, once again reveal troubling and deeply embedded trenches of racial injustice, violence, and oppression. This is a moment of reckoning, a time to reevaluate beliefs and actions. This is a human moment, not a political moment, a moment to reconnect with one another through respect and compassion and by discerning our shared values. I stand with friends and colleagues, especially in communities of color, against hatred and racial injustice. I commit to the work of uprooting racism in its many forms. Above all, I believe each life adds value to its community. Today and every day, I join those around the globe who speak out against racism, promote a deeper understanding of equity, and who create a just world that is smarter, kinder, and more creative.
Lovely. Thank you, Zon. Peter, did you have the communications?
Thank you, both of you. Just very briefly, I received a communication from our local Department of Census representative just letting us know that Guilford is doing very well on the completion of the census. The nationwide completion percentage is approximately 60%. Vermont as a whole sits at about 51%. Windham County is at 36%, and Guilford as a whole is at 63%.
Well, that's pretty good.
So we are actually above national average. The second communication I had is I was contacted by the local commander of the Vermont State Police Barracks to let us know that our new contract for fiscal year 21 is actually going down in cost. Last year it was $7,000. This year it'll be $6,500.
That's good news.
And that's all I have.
There's a savings.
It is a savings, and we'll take whatever we can get. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Richard.
Yes?
I wondered whether there was any way that we could encourage participation in the census, if there's any role that the select board could play in encouraging people to step up and do it because of the benefits possible to our town.
Not possible. They are real.
Yeah.
Well,
so couldn't we put Couldn't we put a message from the select board about the census on a very short message about that the select board hopes that the townspeople will participate in the census this year?
So I've done that a couple times on Front Porch Forum already, and there was a message on the Facebook on our website. I believe it's kind of got pushed down a ways because that was several weeks ago.
Let's bring it up.
Okay, I will refresh it and move it to the top of our messages on the website.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Perhaps, excuse me, perhaps a few of the concrete benefits, if you haven't already, of participation in the census,
Yep.
just
I will
to
do.
make it more alluring.
Excellent. Okay, so now we're on to actions taken.
Well, actions from the previous meeting is that the select board approved joining the Deerfield Valley Communications Union District. The select board appointed Zahn as the CUD representative and Michael as the alternate. The select board approved the deadline extension for the grand list. The select board adopted a new dog ordinance. I was to submit the form to the CUD with a copy of the minutes, which I have done. I was to advertise the open position of dog officer, which I have also done. And I was to contact adjacent communities about the possibility of a joint dog officer role. And due to some days off last week and coming up this week, I have not had time to do that yet.
Okay, we'll trust that you will get that done.
I will, and I will inform you of the results.
Okay, thank you. And there was one more that you were going to confirm the tax penalties and interest information with Penny.
I must have missed that one. I'm sorry. And I need to follow up with her on that.
Thank you.
I will let the select board know on that.
Excellent. Very good. And then now actions to be taken.
Let's see, from this meeting, actions that have been taken were that the select board approved the local resolution on federal relief funding.
Yep.
The select board prohibited all staff overtime until more is known about budget shortfalls of COVID-19. And actions to be taken are that I am to organize a doodle poll about select board budget meetings and to follow up on 2 items that we just mentioned.
Great. Thank you. Is there any further news, questions, comments? Otherwise, we can motion. I will gladly welcome a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion.
Oh, thank you, Michael. Do I have a second?
Here's one.
Okay, Zahn, thank you. Is there any discussion? Well, I have something
Thank you
to say.
all.
I have something to say. Leslie, welcome and thanks for joining us. We look forward to working with you.
Yeah, I'll be a fly on the wall.
And if there
Beautiful fly.
no further discussion, then the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Richard, you need to take a vote.
Oh, yes, sorry. Why do I always forget that?
Silly me.
Brand Porch,
Aye.
Rusty Marine,
Aye.
Zahn Eastis,
Aye.
Michael Becker,
Aye.
Richard Wazansky, aye. Lo and behold, the motion carries unanimously, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you.